Hey ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? My name is Troubadour XP, and I am the club owner of Adults with Jobs. With me is...
Erricane, 724, and I'm also being held against my will.
Yes, he is, but don't let him know that. Now, today, we are starting episode 1 of a new podcast that we want to get started with. This is called Rumbles My Triggers. And you know what rumbles my triggers, Eric? That I have not heard anybody, either you or myself, talk about the top 10 games of 2016. Let's go ahead and start talking about the top 10 video games of 2016. So why don't we start with you, Mr. Erricane?
Alright, so for my 10th place top 10 game happens to be The Division. That's a game that I got in March, and I did enjoy playing the game. It was a great game when it first came out, but it was a good start. The Division would be my number 10.
My number 10 is The Witness. Came out in January of 2016, and I got that for the PS4. I really enjoyed that game. I didn't finish it, but what I did play, I enjoyed. It's just a bunch of puzzles put together with nice graphics, all packaged into $40.
Speaking of puzzles, let me tell you about a game that's not puzzling. My number 9 on my list, it happens to be Mafia 3. Good music, good story, good protagonist.
Well, in lieu of Mafia 3, my number 9 would be Hitman 47. It came out, I think, by episodes. And right now, the full game is now available for $60. But I got it back when it came out in March of 2016. You can replay the same level easily 10, 15 different times and do 10 or 15 different things or different approaches. It's a really good game to try. That's my number 9.
My number 8 happens to be Firewatch. And if you have not played Firewatch, I recommend that you play the game. It's basically set in the mountains. It seems like an open world game. It is a very short game, however, but it's one that you will enjoy because of the setting, the build-up, and the conflict. And it's just a unique game, very beautiful game. If you like story-driven games, then you should definitely go and play Firewatch.
Titanfall 2 is my number 8 on the list. Now, to be honest, I have not finished the campaign, but I think I'm 3/4 of the way there.
So you've only played for 2 hours now?
Exactly. I have not played the multiplayer that much. I honestly don't think I'm that interested in the multiplayer. But I am enjoying the campaign. At this time, Titanfall 2 does actually have a campaign, unlike Titanfall 1. And what I've played, I've enjoyed, which is why it's my number 8 on the list.
My number 7 game happens to be Doom. If you like dark antagonists, then you're going to like Doom. It's bloody, it's gory, it's a shoot 'em up game, it's fun, and truth be told, I kind of felt like I was 10 years old again playing.
Well, actually, to jump in on that, my number 7 is also Doom. You know, a lot of people downplay the multiplayer. The multiplayer is also quite fun. So, Doom, my number 7 on the list.
Speaking of Doom, Ubisoft, I'm looking at you. Dooming the multiplayer experience with the next game. My number 6 on the list happens to be Watch Dogs 2. It's a very fun game.
That just came out.
It's similar to Grand Theft Auto, kind of like how I mentioned Mafia 3 earlier in the list. It is a lot of fun if you enjoy being stealthy or even coming up with different approaches. But Watch Dogs 2 does improve from the original game. The only downfall for Watch Dogs 2 happens to be, of course, the multiplayer. Ubisoft, looking at you.
My number 6 on the list is a Ubisoft title nonetheless, The Division. I personally spend a lot of time in the single player part of it. It did start getting repetitive, but the time that I spent there, I enjoyed quite a lot. So The Division, my number 6 on the list. Back to you.
Dishonored 2. It's more of a story-driven game, and it happens to be my number 5 because it continues the story with the original protagonist, if you choose to go that route, or you can actually go with the new protagonist. In this case,
Corvo.
I forgot the
Elsa, Elite, Dangerous. No,
yeah. Well, let me put it like this: when I played the game, I played as Corvo. I did not go Emily. Emily something. Dishonored 2. Get it, guys. It's in my top 5, so you know it's good.
My number 5, Battlefield 1. The multiplayer, amazing. The sound of that game is great. The visual fidelity, the things you can do in multiplayer alone, That's my top 5. And back to you, number 4.
Gears of War 4 was a reboot for the franchise, I would say, because you do have a new protagonist, but they also bring back some of the older characters.
They're easing you into the new story.
Oh, yes, they're easing you in. It's a great game. Multiplayer-wise, it's a lot of fun. It's addicting. I mean, you guys should get it. It's number 4 on my list. And Tro, back to you.
My number 4 on the list is Overwatch. Now, Overwatch, it's a Blizzard multiplayer first-person shooter, but it's not your typical shooter like Call of Duty or Battlefield, and that's the reason why it's higher on the list for me than Battlefield 1. Overwatch is the kind of game that if you're not good at killing people, maybe you're good at healing people. Give Overwatch a try, It's something different out there, and it's a Blizzard game, so they know what they're doing. So that's my number 4, Eric.
I believe you mentioned this game. Battlefield 1 is number 3 on my list. It's not like Call of Duty where it's all sci-fi and just basically getting away from traditional war games. So for number 3, I do have Battlefield. It is addicting. It is fun. I recommend you guys check it out. Back to you, Trope.
My number 3 on the list is Gears of War 4. Horde mode is very addictive. I'm going to admit it right now. I dropped at least $20 of my real money into buying those card packs because they are pretty addicting. Horde mode is what you want to play if you want cooperative multiplayer online. Back to you, Ericane.
Thank you, Trope. And now number 2 on my list. We're getting closer to the end. So for number 2, I do have Uncharted 4. If you have never played an Uncharted game, then this is the one you should experience. You never know what's going to happen next. If you're into exploring and treasure hunting, then this is a game for you. It's a good game. I would put it number 1, but I do have another competitor there. But yeah, Uncharted 4 it happens to be my number 2.
My number 2 on this game is Rocket League. Arguably, Rocket League came out in 2015, but in 2016, in February 2016, it came for the Xbox One. I didn't know this game could be this fun. Rocket League. You want to have a fun time with some friends or random people? Rocket League is the way to go. Eric?
For my number 1, it's going to be Dark Souls 3, a game that's a little bit similar to Skyrim, but we're not talking about dragons and civil war. Oh no. Would you like to tell us more about Dark Souls 3?
I would like to tell you more about Dark Souls 3 because Dark Souls 3 is also my number 1 game of choice. Dark Souls 3, I've sunk so many hours into Dark Souls 3 and I probably have not seen
Daylight.
2/3 of the game. Daylight.
I got killed many times.
And of course, we all have died so many times in Dark Souls 3. But Dark Souls 3 is the thing to play this year, in my opinion. If I were to tell you not to miss out on a game for this year, I would highly recommend Dark Souls 3. Guys, thanks again for watching your first episode here of Rumbles My Triggers. And as always,
keep it true,
true, respectful, original.
I came up with that.